Evil Genius's CSGO roster is in the news yet again. And this time, it really is because of Stewie. Or at least, it's about Stewie. Last week, a former member of Evil Genius's CSGO coaching staff did a tell-all interview where he detailed how certain antagonisms between he, Stu, and former head coach maLeK were essentially the root cause of the roster's highly publicized failure to perform. It was super spicy and all over social media, which drove Stu to stream a steamy tell-all of his own. There's a lot to break down, so we're going to take you through it step by step. All right, so before we dive in, do the thing, like, subscribe, notifications, please. Also, be sure to check out our shiny new social series, Hot Retakes, where I try my best to RTV Inferno whilst answering any and all burning questions you might have for me. Who knows, maybe we'll even start live streaming it. Eye emoji. Okay, so if you've watched any of the 3 or so Don't At Me's I've done on Evil Genius's new Stewie-helmed CSGO roster, you know that they haven't been doing very well. The question on all of our minds, of course, is why? The doors to the EG camp have, understandably, been pretty closed as of late in light of their abysmal results. Save a few earnest, apologetic tweets and interviews, there hasn't been a lot to go on. Until now. Last week, EG's former assistant coach, Paolo Evi Berbudeau, did an interview with French news outlet Un PV, where he explained in spicy, scrutinizing detail just how rocky the relationship was between Stewie and the maLeK-led coaching staff, of which Evi was a part. The gist of it is that from the very first day of Evi and maLeK's arrival, they were systematically shut out by Stewie's supposedly cold-shouldered prima donna superstar attitude. Evi characterized the American roster as expecting coaches to be so-called yes men, and explained how he and maLeK's strict carte blanche infrastructure made them anything but. And that is when the anecdotes started pouring out. Apparently, it started with Stewie being a typical rank S rager who refused to calm, give his death cam, and as soon as Evi and maLeK tried to address that, devolved into Stu not only refusing to acknowledge maLeK as he entered the room, but denying tactical pauses. The cherry on top had to be Stu outright refusing to call during Pro League, even though EG's CEO, Nicole LaPointe Jameson, was standing right beside the roster as they played. The general claim, of course, is that the environment that Stu created was so hostile and unproductive and unprofessional that neither maLeK nor Evi were able to implement the very infrastructure they were brought in to implement. Evi also alleges that by the end of the RMR, the other members of the roster started wisening up to the fact that Stewie's attitude had become an issue. maLeK supposedly brought up his issues with the team culture that Stewie was creating to management several times, and apparently nothing ever came of it. Eventually, maLeK got so fed up that he benched himself, and he and Evi were both parted ways with shortly after. Now, that's Evi's side of the story. We haven't heard maLeK's since he's opted not to say anything about any of this. But Evi's overall takeaway is that Stu's level of play is questionable, he doesn't challenge himself anymore, and he's not a good leader. Which, I mean, I think is a little bit extreme, but I've also never teamed with the guy. What is undeniable, and what Evi made a point of observing, is that the Smoke Criminal does in fact have a 0.55 rating against top 5 teams whilst on EG. What is also difficult to deny is that even if Evi's account was somewhat sensationalized, as Stewie has since gone on to allege, it's still pretty alarming, to say the least. Stu did, of course, respond to all of this. First, by taking to Twitter and calling Evi's account a twisted retelling from someone he barely remembers having antagonisms with, and then by subsequently turning on his Twitch stream and walking us through his side of things.
It became a little bit of a problem because of the impatience. I feel like maLeK wanted to adopt the G2 system into EG, and I wanted to bring pieces of Liquid into EG as well, and they are both good. They are both, I'm sure that we can put both pieces together, but at the same time, this isn't G2, nor is it Liquid. I don't have Elige, I don't have Nath, we don't have Nico, we don't have Hunter, and I thought it was important to let things flow in the beginning and let things build naturally so we can see people's natural instincts and let all those things develop, see natural reactions, how to play off each other.
Now, Stu's own stream was also like an hour and a half, so I can't summarize everything that he talked about. What I can say is that he didn't so much deny any of what Evie alleged, as much as he just contextualized it.
Basically in the end, it just really made me feel like I was being watched 24/7. Like, I had no room to breathe, like someone's breathing down my neck, and I'm being watched on my every move. And kind of did feel that way. Like, sometimes I can really tell that eyes are on me even though nothing's happening. But yeah, that's just how I felt in the moment.
Ultimately, Stewie did take accountability for what he himself admitted to be his own personal failings. For starters, he addressed his own performance on the server and that pesky little 0.55 rating that everyone was chiding him about.
The fact that you even brought up my rating, don't you think that I'm aware I fucking suck? That I'm putting the team in front of me, that I'm worried about the other side of the map, that I have to make sure that we're making sure what we're doing. Even the fact that we're not ready and trying to focus on everything else but my game. Like, yes, it takes a toll, and I'm not blaming anyone for that. Like, I don't blame anyone for that. I took accountability for that even when the moment happened after EPL. I tried telling them that it was all my fault. Like, I sucked. I don't know why I can't kill anybody. I don't know why I can't put up numbers. Like, there's so much more to take account for. Like this just doesn't really define what happened to me like this season.
But he did also address the issue of his so-called toxic attitude.
Like, I understand my attitude is not the best. I'm a guy who does not like to lose. I would win in any other condition. I would do anything to win. And anyone who's been watching me, anyone who's played on my team knows that. Like, they know that winning is everything to me. And I do understand that my attitude does get in the way. And at times when it's brought up, like, I notice it. I know that I have to work on it. And even though it's been with me throughout my entire career from the very beginning when I joined Cloud9, there are moments of good and bad.
It was also obvious to anyone watching that Stu was not only very emotional about all of this, but genuinely filled with a sense of regret and remorse.
Like, it's all me. Like, this is all me. This is all me. Like, all the shit on me. And, like, you don't think I know that? Like, you don't think I failed the project? You don't think I failed being a captain? You don't think I know any of that? I failed the wrong approach. I failed everything. I want to turn back time and fix it the right way. I want to do all of that, but I can't. And I'm sorry for all the fans that had to see our results this year. We couldn't win a map. We couldn't do any of that.
Suffice it to say, Stewie has never really been everyone's cup of tea. That's not to say that any of his ostensibly inexcusable behavior is, well, excusable. Simply that he does have a style and personality that's very easy to denigrate when it isn't racking up trophies. And need I remind you that it has racked up a fair number of trophies. That said, all signs point to a breaking point of sorts. There's pretty much no way in which the boy does not emerge from this looking like the bad guy. And he knows that, and has owned up to it. The question is, where does young Stu go from here? Do EG give him another crack in the captain's chair? Do they try putting someone else in as the IGL? Or do they get rid of him entirely? His rock bottom tweet from 2 months ago seemed to indicate that he was not ready to give up CS. But who knows? A lot's changed since then. There's also that recently leaked DM convo with Wardell to consider, since there seemed to be an indication that Stu could be entertaining a switch to Valorant, either as a streamer, a competitor, or both. It is sort of the only move away from EG that makes sense, since, well, it's kind of the only move available. If EG really ends up not working out for Stu, I don't really think there's anywhere else for him to go, at least not domestically. Reputational blows aside, He just came from Liquid, and I can't really see Complexity disrupting their rebuild by throwing Stu into the mix. And aside from those two, there aren't really any other North American rosters who are both rebuilding and looking to house a player of his caliber. So until something concrete comes along, we'll just have to cross our fingers and hope for the best. Not just for Stu and for EG, but NACS at large. Honestly, I don't even know how to end board this. Like, I don't. It sort of feels weird to have an end board for a video like this. It's just so sad. Like, maybe that's the end board. I don't know. Yeah. Maybe that's the end board. It's just.
I think we're literally in the end board. Right?
I think we're in the end board. High end board. High end board.